Welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes with DailyStraits.com. This is your host, June Ramli. In this episode, we will be speaking to Julian Fayad, who is the founder and MD of LoanOptionsai. After growing up with a natural gravitation towards technology, Julian designed and built an app at a tender age of 18 years old. He successfully worked his way through the ranks in the financial sector, working in high-level management roles, where he continuously brought record-breaking growth and developed numerous key partnerships among the broker and lender space. With his constant level of forward thinking and having an entrepreneurial mindset, he wanted to start from scratch. He launched Loan Options AI, Australia's first AI-powered comparison tool. Besides being a successful entrepreneur, Julian is also a financial expert and a digital disruptor in an industry that is generally a slow mover in adapting to the newest trend. And Loan Options AI will be the main beneficiary of this. So our chat with Julian today is going to be revolved around how he started his entrepreneurial journey, and also how one can best use his website Options AI. So without further ado, let's welcome Julian to the show. Hello, Julian. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. That was quite the introduction. Thank you for that.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining us today. I will go right into the question. So okay. So you started at 18, and just out of curiosity, what app did you build?
Well, what I built was an app that was designed to aggregate sports news from various sports like NFL, the NRL, soccer in the English Premier League, and various other sports, NBA and basketball. So what I did was I basically decided to build an app that I thought would be very useful for me, because there was something that I was like, oh, I wish I could just get all of these sports updates and scores and everything all in one place. And it was also when I kind of casted the net a little bit wider, a lot of my friends thought it would be really cool as well. So all right, well, let's just build it. It was more of a learning experience for me. It was never intended to be something that was, I guess, going to lead to a pathway or a career, or it was just more something that I built for myself to learn that process of developing and deploying an application on the App Store. That was a very interesting experience, and over time it kind of morphed into something that became to I guess developing some ad revenue. At one point it was making like $1,000 a month in ad revenue, which for an 18-year-old kid is quite a lot, and so that's kind of how it started. But
So what happened to that app? So how it just died off, or you got a job and you decided to concentrate on that?
yeah, well, so I was already working at the time, and this was something I was doing in my pastime. When I left school, I enrolled in a course in web development, and I was studying full time, but my circumstances at the time meant that I needed to work full time as well. And that became quite a lot. And I eventually dropped the web development course with the view that I would come back to it at some point. And so, it's kind of been a full circle thing, but essentially what I did was just focus on my career. And in that time, I still was working on projects that were more or less passion projects, like developing this app and amongst other things. And so essentially what happened to it is, as the iPhones continued to change, there was more and more requirements for me to continue to update the application. And it just got a little bit too much for a project that was no longer a passion project. I'd moved on to developing other projects that were helping me in my career, helping my business that I was working in at the time. So I just diverted my time, and eventually I just stopped updating it. And after a period of time, if you don't update the app and make it in line with the new chipsets and the new screen sizes and everything, Apple eventually just pulls it from the App Store. So that's essentially what happened.
Okay, so What job were you working in, and how long were you in the job before you decided to break free and start your own business?
Oh wow! So I was in automotive finance for close to 8 years before I decided to start my own business. And essentially, the role before that, I was a partner in a business and learned a lot. And essentially, that business was where the idea for Loan Options was born. I took a lot of learnings out of that role, and I was a partner in that business. Ultimately, I decided to start my own business and go in a different direction. And that Loan Options started in August 2020. So it was right after the pandemic. The previous business I was in decided to, I guess, hibernate. And, that was an opportunity for me to, I guess, start fresh and go in a direction that I felt was technology and improving the customer experience and process. So,
Okay, so tell us about the formation of Loan Options AI. So were you sleeping on this idea for a long time, or like how did this come about? Like what decided you to make this a business, a full-fledged business?
yeah, well, what I wanted to do was try and scale the previous business I was in. And so one of the issues that we had was, and this is how the Loan Options eventually was born, but um, a lot of the team members would come to me for advice and say, hey, here's this client scenario. They've been in their job for this long. Their credit score is X, Y, Z. Which lender would be the most suitable lender? And so I had this repetition of staff coming to me and asking me these questions, and some of them were really complex scenarios and some of them were really easy. And so I started thinking, like, as we get bigger, this is not going to be scalable. So I need to try and pass down that knowledge as best as possible. And that was one way to, I kind of immediately started offering training to the team and things like that to improve their skill set so they were less reliant on me. But I thought even then, that's still not as scalable as actually building a tech product that could do that. And so what I started doing is every time I made a decision on which lender was the most suitable in terms of would likely to approve the client for the best offer, I wrote down all of the logic that that made me come to that conclusion. So this lender's credit policy equals this. So the client is within that. So let's go there. And essentially what it started at is first finding out which lenders out of the 60 plus lenders there are will say yes. So that's your first job. Which lenders does it meet the criteria for? And let's say out of that it might be 10. So now you've narrowed it down to 10 lenders. Now out of that 10 lenders, which of those lenders is going to offer the client the best rate and the best overall offer? And so this started in the form of like a spreadsheet, and just writing formulas with business rules. And eventually, as I continued to develop it, became LoanOptions.ai and started researching AI and its use. And I thought that this was a technology that could certainly help us get more accurate in terms of the level of computation that you can do with AI is far better than just an Excel formula, so to speak. So there was an element of the technology was advancing to the point where we could utilize that. And the first model we built was about 70% accurate, and we've managed to get it much more accurate than that. And so that's the evolution.
So you started, was this a bootstrap business that you started with your own capital?
Yes, yeah, indeed. And it still is. So, it was very interesting when you have a product or an offering that is compelling. It's not hard to make to begin making money. The business model makes sense. We save the clients thousands of dollars by helping them shop around. We also save them a lot of time, and in return, we get paid sometimes from the lender or sometimes in the form of like effectively like establishment fee that the client is prepared to pay us as a fee for service. And that depends what type of loan product, whether it's consumer or commercial loan and other bits and pieces. But more or less, the business model was profitable day one. And all of the profit that we've made, we reinvest back into the business in terms of developing the technology even further. We've obviously got some really cool plans on our roadmap as well.
Okay, great. So I looked at the website. It's a very, very well designed website. I like the icon. That's a ninja guy. Kind of cute.
Yeah.
Also, I reminded me of comparison.com.au, the meerkat, because that's the one that everyone goes to at the moment because of the ads and stuff like that. So let me ask you the question. So how does your business, like, it's come out as to me as it's the first one of a kind loan option kind of AI powered website in Australia. So how does this business, if I may ask you, compare with a site like that, like, which has, like, a lot of people know the site already?
Yes, yes. So there's a few things. I'll compare ourselves to both the typical rate comparison sites, and then I'll compare the market specifically. One thing is our business actually takes the client and controls the whole experience from the very first time they visit our website all the way through to the moment they pick up their car that they've purchased or accept the funds that we've managed to get them approved for. So with sites like, let's use Finder or Rate City or Compare the Market or iSelect, the way that those sites work is they actually just show you what results are available with the headline offer. So for example, Finder gives you a list of offers and people can pay to be the sponsored top offer. Businesses, like, let's use a bank, let's just say a bank has decided to pay to be the top listed offer. Then the client clicks and it just takes them to that bank or that lender's website, and the client has to go through the whole journey themselves. Okay. Now, if they're unsuccessful, the client has to go back to Finder or Rate City or another one of these, and then they have to apply again with the second best offer. And then until such time that they're approved, they might put 3 or 4 inquiries, 3 or 4 separate application forms that they need to fill out. Our business is very different in a sense that they only need to fill out the form once, and as they're filling out the form, our AI matching technology is changing the lending results to show them what they specifically qualify for. Okay. Now that's very different because we're not just putting all of the lending options, we're showing them only the options that they actually qualify for. And we're not actually just showing them the headline interest rate. What we're doing is we're showing them the rate that they qualify for specifically. So we could say rates from 3.54% or something like that, and that would be a really attractive option for people to click on. But what we're finding is these comparison sites where they have negative outcomes is the client agrees and says, yeah, that sounds like a great offer. But by the time the banks approved them and got their loan and their funds ready, they didn't actually qualify for that headline rate. They qualify for something much higher, because to get that headline rate, you need to be, a property owner with a credit score of above 1100 and been in your job 10 years and all this ridiculous criteria. So it's unrealistic. And we just wanted a better experience. We wanted to try and make it so that the rate that the client sees on our site is as close, or if not exactly, what they end up with. And so that's the difference between us and comparison sites, and specifically Compare the Market. Their expertise is across. They don't have expertise in one particular component. They have expertise across many broad product lines, whether it's insurance and other things. You can't be in this is my perspective. You can't be a master of many trades. You almost have to pick a craft and really excel at that one particular craft. And for us, that's comparing and helping customers apply and get funding through what we call asset finance, which is car loans, unsecured personal loans, unsecured business loans, and equipment loans. So those areas are our absolute expertise, and we think we're the best in the industry at it. And so that's how I guess it's different. We are a master of this one niche, and many other comparison sites compare everything, whether it's comparing hand sanitizers all the way through to car insurance. I mean, you can't certainly claim to be the best at all of those things, right?
Yeah. So I just noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do not have a mortgage comparison on the site. I might be wrong here. Am I right? Or
No, that's right. And there's a couple of reasons for that, and I'm happy to get into that. But really, a lot of our partners at the moment, because the application tool that we've built it so that it's white label, so we can actually embed our finance application journey on many other because we wanted the customers to benefit from this. We didn't just want to keep it for ourselves. We want to distribute this application journey and comparison tool to as many people as possible, so as many customers can benefit from the savings they get by using this tool. So we actually license this tool to other mortgage brokers. And so in some respects, it's to prevent any channel conflict. We're not an expert in home loans. As I said, if you want a personal loan, you can come to us. We'll get you the best personal loan that's in the market. If you want a car loan, if you want unsecured business loans, or if you want any equipment loan, that's what we're a specialist in. We're not a specialist in home loans, but we do have a lot of great partners that we deal with. And so if someone comes to us and happens to mention that they would also be interested in getting a home loan, then we'll just refer them to the most suitable partner. If we start doing home loans and start doing everything else, we're no different to, these other comparison sites that claim to be, the best at everything. If there's an opportunity where we can make sure that we will have the best in the industry in terms of talent, it may be something that we consider down the line. But for now, we have more priorities. I would say that.
Okay, so that's a great answer. So what are some of the expansion plans for the business next year? So it's quite a new company, 2 years old.
Yeah.
So are you going for Series A, B, C, all this kind of stuff, or what's the plan?
At this point, we're not actively seeking investment. So the business model runs really well. We have a great team. We've got in this brand we have more than 25, 26 employees, and in the group as a whole we have more than 40, nearly 50 people. So at the moment it's going really well. We don't think we need it. I think we're still a little bit immature in that respect, that we probably would want to wait a little while before we're going down that path. That's not to say that if we had a great opportunity or a really good strategic partner that we wouldn't consider it. It's just it probably wouldn't make sense because we're not quite at the scale that we would like before we would start handing out equity and doing that sort of thing. But the most immediate expansion plans would be into other markets. So for example, New Zealand, across the ditch, that's really attractive to us. And perhaps and maybe in a different capacity. New Zealand is a very similar market in terms of regulation, but say North America, Canada and the US, I think their regulation is quite a bit different. So probably for us, it would be maybe just from a tech perspective in terms of licensing a tech, and less around actually facilitating the loan. So our model may change depending on which market it goes into, but those are the most immediate expansion plans, potentially into franchising as well. So.
Oh, wow, that's great. So, okay, so you're the head honcho of this company. You're the founder, basically. So can you tell us what are the top tips, the best tips on how to use your website to the fullest, to get the best experience from your website?
So we have a lot of great resources that we've built into the site, a really, really good frequently asked questions hub, some information if you're interested in becoming a partner. So then there's also a lot of information about kind of the secrets of the industry. So I would suggest, before you go and apply for a loan, there's a lot of learning you should do before that to understand and make sure that you're making the right decisions. Sometimes people focus only on one aspect, whether that's the interest rate or whatever it might be. In order to get a truly good deal, you need to consider all aspects: interest rate, fees and charges, early termination costs, the flexibility, how fast the lender can turn it around. And then, of course, if you know what type of loan you want, follow the easy steps. You can select you want a car loan, then it will ask you, whether it's going to be used for personal use or business use. Then you'll select how much you would like to borrow. And at any point in time, if you're not sure, you can just enter in what you think is most suitable. And And then what you can do is inside the tool, you can start making changes to see how that impacts what lending options you have available. And so that would be, my advice is like, click around, have a look and feel free to ask questions, reach out to our team. If for whatever reason you're having any trouble navigating, we always have that step where you can just talk to a person, and we're very big on that. We want to make sure that not only are we are tech first, but we do have that team here that's here to support and concierge the client all the way through the process to make sure they get the desired outcome. We're not sending them to third parties. We're not hoping that the bank's going to say yes. We know that those lenders are going to say yes. So we've spent the time doing the research on which lenders will say yes, and we present them only those options.
Okay, great. So, finally, so there's been a lot of data breaches lately, from Optus to Medibank to Woolworths. So because you are a comparison website and people tend to put in sensitive information on the site, to get their loans approved, XYZ. So can you just tell us like how safe is one's data on your website, on LoanOptions.ai?
We spend a lot of time making sure that's because that's the number one priority. We collect so much data, and the client's confiding in us. We have their financial history. We have a lot of information. So cybersecurity is of utmost importance, and we actually deal with an external cybersecurity specialist to make sure that we're constantly trying to do, whether it's penetration tests or things like that, to see if there are any vulnerabilities that pop up, different web browsers that people might use, or anything that could potentially lead to a breach. We're super, super cautious with, and we always put the client's information and privacy at the very, very first point in terms of priorities. And in terms of what we're doing ongoing and how safe it is right now, all of the data protection services that we use are tier 1. We make sure that all the data is kept onshore in Australian hosted Amazon servers. We pay for a lot of cybersecurity training for our team to make sure that there's not any phishing attempts. So there's a lot of awareness that we create within our team. I would say that we do a really great job of cybersecurity training. And then obviously we have this external agency that is continuously trying to stay at the forefront of the latest hacks and whatever else is going on in the kind of the dark web to make sure that our clients are protected.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty, that's all the time that we have for today. We have just been speaking to Julian Fayad, the founder and MD of LoanOptionsai. Thank you so much, Julian, for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. And the pleasure is all ours. Be sure to join us the next time as we aim to interview another awesome entrepreneur from across Australia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you later.
See ya.